My mom would be like my best friend.
I still live with them,
And
in my small room.
I'm with her every week. I talk to her almost every day or 2 days.
How often do you contact your mother?
Oh, every day.
I contact my mum every day.
Weekly.
A text or something every day, and then have phone calls with like either or both of them 2 or 3 times a week.
We go to the movies together.
Father passed away, but my mother and I have got a fantastic relationship. Yeah.
If I needed them, I know they'd be there.
We pick up a basket every week of ugly fruit that's not used,
Okay.
So we're together because of that, and we eat a meal together.
When you go home, does your mum still do your washing for you?
Oh yeah.
Mum still do your washing for you when you go home?
Yeah,
she does.
Do you have access to your parents' Netflix account or Amazon account?
Yeah.
I went to university first, then drama school, so I was supported all the way through.
Do your parents help you with perhaps paying and helping with your education costs? As you were growing up?
Yes, they helped me.
Yeah, with your university?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Paid for example, my flat.
Oh, they helped you with the deposit for your house?
Yeah, right.
My mother and my parents-in-law did help us buy our flat in London. There was no other way we could do it. Yeah.
If you still go out, say, eating out with your parents or your in-laws today, who pays the bill?
Which I try and do it, but it's always them.
When we go out for dinner, it's still my father.
Any childcare for your daughter?
Yes, my mother is doing that.
Welcome to the new dependency culture, where millennials are now perpetually and continually dependent on their baby boomer parents. From everything from doing the weekly washing, to subscription to Netflix, to more profound purchases such as a house. There has never been such greater dependency than millennials have on their parents. And indeed, you might ask that millennials themselves as a generation have yet to cut the umbilical cord. And this is a global phenomenon. In China, the millennial generation are becoming known as giant infants. In Singapore, they're known as the kangaroo generation, forever in their parents' pockets. And indeed in the US, of course, and across Northern Europe, they are becoming known as the boomerang kids, returning home after already having left. This is the new dependency culture, which is creating a real divide within the millennial generation between not just graduates and non-graduates, but actually between those that can rely on the safety net of mum and dad and those that can't. Now let's meet the parents and see what they think of the millennials' dependency on them. Do you say you get on better with your kids than you did with your parents?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. What have you helped her along the way with financially, with say a wedding or further education?
Well, first of all, we'll be funding them through university,
Yeah.
and then it will be funding them to get deposits in houses and things like that.
Yeah.
We paid for my son's education, but when the girls came along, we couldn't afford to privately educate them, so they went to our local state school and did really well.
We paid for accommodation and fees and all that stuff.
Have you helped them with the housing deposit?
Yeah, we have both of them.
Both.
Yeah.
Further education a bit, higher education support, and also support with buying their house.
I was very lucky in that I was left some money by an elderly aunt, and so I was able to give each child £50,000 to use as a deposit.
You had any boomerang children?
Oh yeah,
that come
yeah.
back?
They come go. They all the time.
Several of my friends have grandchildren. They do a lot to help.
A lot of child.
Yes, weekly. You know, a day a week. They will go and travel to another town to go and babysit and look after them. Yeah.
My daughter was the one child. Her parents-in-law have her daughter 2 whole days a week.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to cope without childcare than me.
Right. Did you do their washing when they came back?
Yeah.
You did?
I do explain how to use a washing machine.
So millennials have transferred their dependency from the state, from the market, to their parents. But why? You could cite rising housing costs, rising education costs, and indeed stagnant wages as to the reason why millennials are now more dependent on their parents than ever before for their future and for their prospects. But indeed there's a more social and cultural reason as to why this is the case. The fact is that a 30-year-old today is more likely to get on better with their parents than a 30-year-old in the say 1960s. They will have probably more in common and certainly communicate more often. How often are you in contact with your children on a daily basis?
Well, the ones in Exeter, I probably see at least once a week, twice a week.
One's on a daily basis, the other one's probably on a twice weekly basis.
We also do Skypes.
We FaceTime Jenny once a week, and we probably speak to her on the phone a couple of times a week.
When you go out for meals with the elder children, do they pay or do you pay?
No, I always pay for everything.
We do.
Okay, that was
We do, yeah.
when will that change, do you think?
Well, hopefully at some point.
So what happens when this dependency is reversed? We're living in an aging society where our parents are getting older and older. Millennials face as a generation years, potentially decades of looking after their elderly parents. Do you anticipate that your children will look after you in your dotage or carers?
I'm hoping not.
I wouldn't expect them to be actually doing the caring, really independent caring.
Yeah, I think so, probably will do. Yeah, I mean they're very caring at the moment towards us, and they would pay, but we just think we can afford to help them, and they're just starting out.
Life, yes.
Do you see yourself looking after them, or perhaps putting them into a home, or?
No.
I'm one of three and I have an older sister, and unfortunately the way it kind of works is because I have a mother that probably my sister would take on that role, being two females, but I'm sure I'll be pretty hands-on.
I've got two, a brother and a sister, but we do care for them, or we have plans. What can we do if anything happens?
I know from personal experience how difficult it is to both look after a terminally ill father and indeed a newborn son. In the space of 12 months, I gave birth to my son and buried my father. And I felt the push and pull of both being a parent and a child. In many ways, and rather paradoxically, we are living in the golden age of the family. There are now more multi-generational households, that's 3 generations living under one roof, than there has been since the Second World War in the UK. Indeed, America has seen a 30% rise in multi-generational households in just 7 years, and the biggest rise is coming in non-immigrant families. If we're living in the golden age of the family, that's partly to do with economic dependency, it's partly to do with cultural affiliation and just the fact that we get on better than we ever have done before. But it's also an indication, I think, of the way in which society is changing. We are now living in an age where people are younger for longer, they're living longer, and indeed, the generations are closer than ever before.